size is small.
So then
he played a game and a half.
Yeah, well, how do you propose the Lakers become a championship team if Steve Nash is not enough?
I know it's a reach,
yeah,
but is it possible that there could be a new Jeremy Lin this year? I mean, there's got to be a guy.
You want Jeremy Lin. That's your answer?
How many billions of people are we up in the world right now? 6 billion people?
7, I think.
7 and counting? You're telling me there's not like 1 or 2 kids that can shoot, play some defense, and can help this team?
Yeah, I feel like they're all on NBA rosters.
Look, I don't need a major surgery to this team. I need a Band-Aid. There's got to be someone that can help. And I think Jody Meeks is one of those guys that's helping.
The Band-Aid is Steve Nash, and that Band-Aid is not going to be enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's enough. I think they do need more. But I feel like it can be rectified. I'm going to have to go ahead and put my stamp of fiction on this one.
Okay.
Number 6. I think this one's interesting. It is more likely that Tim Tebow will land a starting gig next year than it is that Dwight Howard will re-up with the Lakers this offseason.
I don't know. I think there's 0 chance that Tim Tebow lands a starting gig next year.
Percent that Dwight Howard re-ups at this point today.
I don't know. Better than Tim Tebow finding a starting gig.
Over under 20%.
Over.
Over under 40%.
Over. I think it's
60.
I think it's a better than a 50% chance
really?
That he re-ups. Yeah, I do. I mean,
I think he's all but gone, man.
No.
I think he's got 1 foot out the door.
Why do you think that?
Just
because of the way they played?
I think he reluctantly came to L.A. Didn't really want to go to L.A.
I don't think that's true.
Reluctantly
I think
came
he wanted
to L.A.
to be. I think that
I don't think he ever wanted to be in Shaq's footsteps. Didn't want to be in Kareem's footsteps. Didn't want to be in the shadows.
I think initially that's true, but I think he got over that.
I think if you look at this team, his comments he's put out there are that it's his decision and only his decision, and that he only has such a window, and that his window is expiring. And I think you look at the Lakers, as we just pointed out, Steve Nash is not the option.
Yeah.
You don't really have a point guard. If Steve Nash is not your option and not the guy for the future, we're talking about a 39-year-old point guard.
Yeah.
He was an anomaly to begin with. He really shouldn't be as good as he has been the last couple of years. So you don't have a point guard. Kobe's only getting older. Kobe's actually going to be a free agent in a couple of years. He might blow off the Lakers. It's possible. Paul Gasol looks like half the man he was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And that's an entirely different issue. His knees are banged up. Far too many minutes on those knees. Okay? Every man has a breaking point. I think he's past his breaking point. So if I'm Dwight Howard and I look at the roster around me, I go, Kobe's not so great anymore, especially in after this year. I mean, Kobe right now has to burden so much of the responsibility for this team. He's playing far too many minutes. Coming into this year, everyone's like, well, I mean, if Kobe can play 30 minutes,
right,
you're in pretty good shape. You can
that's
save him
happening.
for the playoffs.
That's not happening.
No, man, he's the future.
They're not making the playoffs.
He's the present. The
not
man
if he
is
plays
the Laker
30 minutes.
franchise. So I think if I'm Dwight Howard, I say, the roster's not so great. I'm not sure if I really like D'Antoni. I didn't really want to be here to begin with. I think he's going to go to the Mavericks.
All right. Can I just say, though, just from a purely self-interested standpoint, I hope he re-ups. I don't know if I can handle another Dwight Howard saga.
Right?
I don't know if I can take it. I don't.
But it makes for good radio, right?
Yeah, it makes for good radio, but God.
You're telling me you can't stand to hear Kellerman rant and rave for 4 months about Dwight Howard? He was spotted eating today.
Yeah, that's
we saw
exactly
him with
what
a
I'm
realtor.
saying.
We
I
think
can't handle
he's going to
it.
purchase a house. Things are imminent. It's going to happen. So I'm going to have to say that I don't think Dwight's going to re-sign. And I agree with you. I don't think Tim Tebow's ever going to be the starting quarterback. But I'm going to float out the idea of him being a co-starting quarterback. I think the new fashionable thing in the coming future is for a 2-quarterback system. I think that's going to be the in vogue thing. I really do think that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I think when you look at how amazing a guy like Cam Newton can be, how amazing RG3 or Vic can be, but at the same time, any of those guys are hit away from basically dooming your season. None of those guys have won anything, and I think what you need to do is have that contingency plan on the field with them. I think that's what you got to do.
Yeah, well,
how easy is it to go find a running quarterback, a dual-threat quarterback? Dime a dozen.
Yeah.
Now, it's hard to find a Cam Newton, an RG3, or a Vic, but a serviceable replacement is not that difficult.
Well, let me just say, though, there's nothing that NFL coaches love more than new ideas, right? Nothing they love more than do it. Let's just try out of the box thinking.
Is that
not
sense
something,
of sarcasm?
Yeah, that was sarcasm. Nothing that an NFL coach hates more than changing things up and thinking outside of the box, because that's the easiest way to lose your job.
I'll tell you, if you watch Washington, it's an exciting brand of football.
Yeah, and guess who's hurt?
RG3.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like...
Guess who almost had his ACL torn last week?
Look, I'd throw out this. If you had the choice, the pick of the litter, would you rather have Andrew Luck or RG3? And that's not taking into consideration future play. That's just right now.
Oh,
if you
right
were to play
now?
one game.
Clearly RG3 is the better player.
Exactly.
Right
but the caveat to that is that you know he's going to get injured.
now. Right.
He blew out his knee at Baylor.
He is injured. He
is injured. He's taken so many hits this year.
We've seen him get injured twice. We saw the concussion. We saw the bum knee.
Now, with that said, what if you were to have Cam Newton and RG3 on the same playing field at the same time? How dynamic would that be?
Yeah, how is that going to happen?
Why couldn't it happen?
So you think that
if
Carolina's going to put
a
package together to get RG3?
Well, I'm just saying, you could clearly pick up Tim Tebow for nothing.
Oh, so now it's
Mike
Tebow
Vick's,
and RG3, not Cam and RG3.
I'm just saying, answer the question. If you could have RG3 and RG3, that'd be freaking amazing.
Yeah, that would be...
If you could have RG3 and Cam Newton, if you could somehow acquire Cam Newton, plug him into that offense...
Can't happen. How are you going to get Cam Newton?
Okay, but you could get Vic and Tebow.
Yeah, you could get Vic and
For
Tebow.
a bag of chips, you could have either one of them.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. RG3 and Tebow I don't even want, because RG3 I want with the ball in his hands all the time. Those 20% of plays that Tebow would be having the ball in his hands, I would rather have I would rather have RG3 with the ball in his hands.
You got Cam on the brain,
I'd rather have him throwing, and I'd rather have him running. So I don't see why I'm giving Tebow the ball at all.
Tebow's a dynamic player. I don't think he's ever
not as dynamic as RG3.
The lone quarterback in any system.
Well, basically, you're saying I want Tebow to take throws and runs away from RG3, and I don't ever want that. Why would I ever want that?
Okay, how about Vic? Vic and RG3 together.
No, I don't want Vic ever taking throws away from RG3. Runs, fine. Run the ball, go for it. But I don't want Vic ever throwing the ball instead of RG3 throwing the ball.
Yeah, but I feel like if you could throw in that extra wrinkle,
the guy
makes the
fumbles,
offense that much
the guy
more
fumbles or
unstoppable.
throws a pick every time he touches the ball.
Oh,
Why would I want?
That's not true. He's had some moments.
That was sarcasm again.
Oh, okay. Well, I clearly don't have my my sarcasm decoder available. I don't have my little ring on my finger. It's
my
not lighting
point
up.
is, I don't want him ever taking touches away from RG3.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to agree to disagree with you on that one.
Yeah, this one you're wrong about.
Okay, well,
I can say that.
Send us a tweet. I'm curious to know where the general public falls on this one.
I can say this with confidence.
Because I feel pretty strongly that the two-quarterback system is the thing of the future.
Never going to happen.
People said that the mobile dual quarterback was never going to be a popular option. Never been more dual-threat quarterbacks in the league than right now.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get more.
Okay, that's true.
It's only going to increase.
And it only took 20 years for that to happen,
Anyway, send us a tweet once again at the Spokester, at AT the Pick Machine, and we'll count up our population, see where they fall on this one. All right, so the next fact or fiction item here. Expanded NFL playoffs are a good idea. Now, a little background about this one. Currently, 12 teams make the playoffs, but Roger Goodell said the other day he's mulling over the idea of upping the ante to 14 or 16 teams. Currently, if we were to do that, teams like the Steelers would get in, the Colts would get in.
Well, the Colts and Steelers are probably already going to
Probably already in. Teams like the Redskins would get in. Well, we're talking about borderline teams. No one's a definite. There are a couple of teams that have solidified a position. We're talking about teams that are on the border getting in.
Yeah, I have a problem with this. I don't like it.
Why don't you like it?
I don't know. I'm personally more of a college football fan myself anyway, and that's just purely for the reason that I like the fact that every
college
game
football
matters.
has a great playoff system in place. Huh?
Oh, I'm not talking about the playoff system. I'm talking about I like the regular season mattering. I like the fact that every game in college football matters, that really if you lose one game, you could make the difference between a national championship season and a non-national championship season. I like that. And
okay,
now,
well, what if I were to throw in an extra bye to incentivize teams to to not tank and to play every game like it truly matters.
I don't have a problem with an extra bye. I'm saying you want to add now more teams to the postseason, to playoffs. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with you watering down the regular season even more.
How'd you feel about
even less.
How'd you feel about the playoffs that just happened? The baseball playoffs, that is.
Baseball playoffs are great.
Not bad, right?
Yeah, and I liked
teams.
I liked it. I liked the new system that they have.
It's a different game. Because in baseball, right, you're playing a 5 or 7 game series.
But it's such a long season also. It's such a grueling season. To add an extra team wasn't that big of a deal for me. I just have a problem with the NFL watering down the regular season even more. So what?
It was a big deal if you were a Brave or a Ranger fan.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Of course, it was a big deal.
And I personally, I'm going to say this is fact. I think it is a good idea because, as you said, it's a long season. And granted, look, 16 is not that long when you consider a 162 or an 82 game season. But it's 17 grueling weeks, 16 games.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for the game to add in those borderline teams. Because honestly, are they really gonna make that much difference? Are they really going to shake things up?
I think they can, absolutely.
Would that be the worst thing if they did? I mean, I don't think they are, but would that be the worst thing if they did?
No, it's not necessarily the worst thing, and that's the thing with football is how unpredictable it is. But at the same time, I just have a problem with the NFL watering down the regular season even more. That just the game in the regular season matters even less. I would rather have the regular season matter more, you know?
I mean, I'll throw out one example. Didn't Eli Manning in both his Super Bowl runs win every game on the road?
I think you're right.
I think he did.
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, crazy things can happen. Typically, that does not happen. You do not win your games on the road all the way from start to finish.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. I think this would be a good thing. Like, if RG3 were to get in, it's exciting. I don't think he's going to do anything. It wouldn't be the worst thing. So I think it's fact.
We're going to have, like half the teams in the NFL in the playoffs
It's a couple
now?
of extra playoff games.
Like
do you like to watch
teams.
playoff football?
I love
to watch half the teams. It's 2 extra games.
Yeah, it's like half the teams.
It's 2 teams.
I like to watch the playoffs in football. Yeah, I like to watch the playoffs.
Are you going to lose sleep if it jumps from 12 to 14?
No, I'm not going to lose sleep. I would just would prefer.
Are you going to enjoy watching the games?
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy it. I just prefer they don't.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to ignore what you said.
I'm going to enjoy the regular season less.
It's clearly a fact.
I'm going to enjoy the regular season less.
Why?
Because the game doesn't matter as much.
Who says?
I'm saying right now because more teams are getting in the playoffs.
Look, I just said we're going to add an extra bye. So everything moves up one notch. The kid that doesn't get in gets in. They're probably going to lose. I'm going to enjoy the game. It makes for fun, enjoyable seasons. It keeps a couple of teams that weren't in it. I mean, here's the crazy thing. The Jets at 6-7 have an outside shot of making it if we were to jump to 14 teams.
Yeah.
Isn't that ridiculous? Not
only is that ridiculous, isn't that wrong?
Is about how terrible the Jets are.
And that's why it's wrong. Who wants it?
But they're clearly not getting in. I'm saying an outside shot. Like they are, if they all of a sudden...
There should be no outside shot.
If Braylon Edwards turns on his cylinders and all of a sudden becomes that stud that he was like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
You know? And Sanchez becomes that franchise quarterback he was, sort of, at one point.
Was he?
He got the team almost to a Super Bowl twice.
I'm not sure he was ever a franchise quarterback.
Yeah. We'll agree about that one.
Yeah.
All right. So anyways, our last... we have 2 more here. 2 more. So our last baseball, fact or fiction, I can at least say that with a straight face. Bonds, Clemens, Piazza, Lofton, McGuire, Sosa, and Palmeiro. Okay, once again, Bonds, Clemens, Piazza, Lofton, McGuire, Sosa, and Palmeiro should all be enshrined.
Yeah, I'm going fiction on this one. I'd say all of them. No.
All of them.
No. Bonds, Clemens, Piazza, Lofton. Yeah, I say. Bonds, because he's the greatest hitter of all time. PEDs or not. Before PEDs, using PEDs, greatest hitter of all time. Clemens, using PEDs, not using PEDs. Before, after, one of the top 3 pitchers of all time.
How many Cy Youngs?
3? 2?
I think he had like 7.
No.
I know.
Was it that many?
Yeah, it was like 7.
No, there's no way he had
Bonds,
7.
6 MVPs.
Yeah, Bonds had a ton.
Clemens, I believe, had 7 Cy Youngs.
No.
Yeah, he won 3 in a row at one point, twice.
God. What a beast.
Beast.
Beast. And then last one was Piazza, 2 more. Piazza and Lofton. Piazza basically, steroids or not, you got to look at the guy, and he's the best